I remember the friends when I just relocated, the first friends that I had were all party people, clubbing and drinking. And so honestly, they were the only community I knew. As a young campus student, obviously in a foreign country. So I was like, okay, what does a young person do over the weekend? Says he can't kwa hostel. So I joined them, go out. And then it didn't help the fact that I enjoyed dancing. And so the music, I think one thing I'd made a predecision was alcohol was just not for me. So I was like, okay, but I can still go out to the clubs and dance. And I think like you, Nyasha, initially I didn't have much conviction because I'm like, there's nothing evil I'm doing. I'm just going to dance. I'm going to socialize. I'm just going to hang out with my friends. But I remember after doing it a couple of times, kakanza kushika. I was like, wow, I was looking forward. Like every weekend, I'm like, plot ni gani? Where are we going? Which place? Hello and welcome back to the 360 Perspective podcast with me, Trisha. It is another Thursday, another new episode. And today, guys, it's going to be an amazing episode because I have some wonderful humans who are going to discuss, I don't know whether to say it's a controversial topic in the Christian spaces, but it could be. But our title and topic for today is just about clubbing and, just being a Christian. Can you be a Christian, going to church on Sundays and going out in the clubs on the rest of the days? Mm-hmm. So that is our topic for today. And to have that discussion, it's I have friends, you've seen them before on this podcast, and I will let them just do a brief introduction of themselves. So karibuni sana, ladies.
Thank you.
It is good to have y'all here. Maybe tu mneza taja majina and then we'll flow from there.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Annabel Mumbi.
Great. Karibu sana, Annabel.
Hi guys, my name is Chep. I'm sure mezoea isura.
Hi. My name is Nyasha Ngoloma.
Hey, Mrs. Ngoloma.
Sasa mimi nakuitanga Ngomala.
But yes, we are here today and I want us to start this conversation about just being a Christian and going out to the clubs. And I don't think it's a yes or no kind of question, but perhaps I can begin by asking, have you guys ever struggled at all in your Christian walk?
Never. Never ever.
Am I your heaven going?
Yeah. Actually, I've always
Heaven
been.
bound.
I'm outside the gate. It's just that the time is not yet there, but niko hapo in their gate ya mbinguni.
Amen.
I'm getting in there.
We all aspire to be like you, Nyasha, but I am so sure if God was to pull out a TV and bring your past, each one of us will be very, very, very much surprised. But we are here for the stories. So you tuanze na Nyasha tukienda hivi tusikie tu just your personal journey, just about has this ever been a struggle in your life? Because I know it's something that's very prevalent, especially among the young believers right now who don't see a big deal about going out to the clubs. So Nyasha, toa screen yako tuambie what your history has been.
Hey, wow. I think I have done that so many times, by the way. I remember when I was serving in Frontrunners, which is the youth church for ICC.
Yes.
I used to go out from Thursday, Friday, then Saturday I'd come for rehearsals with a hangover, and then and Saturday still I'd go out, and then Sunday, sometimes you're there leading worship and then you see certain people who you are with and you act like, I don't know you, I've never seen Yeah, hey. Or sometimes you go to the club and then you meet someone who knows you and they're like, Nyasha,
that who leads worship.
Oh my God. Some of them feel so bad because they feel so cheated. Others feel so validated. Like, oh, thank God. If Nyasha is here, enyewe niko tu sawa. Yeah, so that's my experience. So I've done that. When I was doing my master's, I remember in Strat they have this like a networking thing on Fridays. Mm-hmm. So they used to give us free booze for those who are going to heaven like me. Booze is alcohol. So they used to give us alcohol and like just to bond as a class. And most of my classmates that time were like older people who are doing like, holding very high jobs and whatever. So it was like, obviously we would finish there, so we go to the club. And I used to feel like there's nothing crazy that I was doing, like, which is true, honestly. I mean, there's no day, I don't think there's anyone, nakaa huko unyamaze, but I don't think there's anyone who has like bad X-files of me in a club, like doing anything so out of this world. So I used to have that whole mindset of, I'm just going to dance, like, surely I'm just going to drink and dance. I won't do anything crazy. And then for some reason, zangu. No, I think it's my friends, maybe the people I used to go out with. For us, it was just maybe the things you'll do after the club. That's something else, But like in the club, I wasn't doing anything out of this world, so extreme that you'll be removed by the bouncers or anything, yeah. And then for some weird reason, I never used to feel guilty. Imagine, I never used to feel guilty. I never used to. I think there's a friend of mine, hey Shiko, who I used to always tell, like, Suji, forgive. Like, her, she would be like, I feel so sad. I've hurt God. And I would just look at her like, guy, so you forgive yourself and move on. Like, why are you crying? So, yeah, so me, I never used to feel guilty for some weird reason. I don't know if it's because of my personality. I don't know, but I don't know. Or maybe I had just taken the grace of God for granted. So yeah, that's my story.
Wow. Okay, and we'll come around second round just to hear how was the journey or what made you stop, if you ever stopped at all. We'll also
You never know. You never know.
You never know. All right. Queen Chep mwenyewe.
What were old files? Now mine is a bit different. So I was those people for just obeying my parents. So when I finished high school, onto campus now, I was like, now I can do what I want. So plus I didn't like church much. So I left church. Nikatokomea kwenye mambo ya dunia. You remember that song for Merimela Kipenzi something. Wow. So yeah, and that was it until 2020 December. I went back to church, and it just felt too overwhelming in the context of I got there and I can feel God telling me that you should not do these things anymore. But then I'm like, how do I balance my whole adult life has been here? And so from that December to say June, July, I was like, Sato niko out, Sunday niko church, after church niko sherehe, just that mixture until I joined discipleship class and something changed. So mesema hiyo story ingine tunapeana round 2.
Okay, so yours was more of before.
Mine happened for a very short time, honestly. Like I couldn't maintain that partying and still going to church. A lot of guilt and that kama rafiki yako shame and what yeah, so sometimes I try to silence that voice, but it would get louder, especially now when I'm alone, not with my friends.
Okay, interesting. Annabel?
I think for me, I did try to go to the club when I was in uni, but then I quickly discovered that it wasn't for me, because like the demands placed on a woman going to the club versus the guy, like you have to dress up, like wear short dresses, like you're freezing uko
freeze and shine,
and the guy is fully dressed, you're in a short dress. So for me, that didn't work out. Like it didn't make sense for me to like go through all that trouble. But also the thing I think that helped me was because in my family there were people who I knew who had struggled with alcohol. So it wasn't really like it was such a quick judgment in the sense that I don't want to be in the trenches, like staki kukua kwa mtaro in the morning trying to figure myself out. And also I think the fear of what if I ended up like them held me back. But I did try, here and there to drink, but it didn't make sense for me. In terms of like the taste, everything didn't make sense for me, so it wasn't worth it. However, when I worked a little bit, I did sell, like I promoted alcohol. Like I marketed Jameson, Nuko, and Nakina Martel. And for a while it made sense. Like it made sense to like celebrate when when my client made more money in terms of sales. But then it got to a point where I started asking myself, like, I'm literally telling people triple. I think that the Jameson tagline, I think it is twice distilled something. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, this is a lie, And so, I mean, I had to go to clubs like to see and activate and do all those things. And so I would always dodge.
Agency
life. So I'd always be like, I hope no one I know sees me.
Yeah.
And my best club was K1 because it used to be dark. Because, I mean, unless you're at the pool tables, no one will see you. So I'd go in quickly, activate, and then leave. And so I think for me, I really didn't struggle with alcohol much, but I did sell it. And I think once God started convicting me, it was a quick shift, and like career changes had to be made because of that as well. Yeah.
Okay, so for you, clubbing wasn't something that you struggle with, but probably because of your workspace.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Honestly, me, I think I did struggle with it a bit. Imagine, heaven bound.
Definitely not in Kenya.
Okay, definitely not in Kenya, but my first couple of years in campus in the States. I remember the friends when I just relocated, the first friends that I had were all party people, clubbing and drinking. And so honestly, they were the only community I knew. As a young campus student, obviously in a foreign country. So I was like, okay, what does a young person do over the weekend? Says ika to kwa hostel. So I joined them, go out. And then it didn't help the fact that I enjoyed dancing. And so the music, I think one thing I'd made a predecision was alcohol was just not for me. So I was like, okay, but I can still go out to the clubs and dance. And I think like you, Nyasha, initially I didn't have much conviction because I'm like, there's nothing evil I'm doing. I'm just going to dance. I'm going to socialize. I'm just going to hang out with my friends. But I remember after doing it a couple of times, kakanza kushika. I was like, wow, I was looking forward. Like every weekend, I'm like, plot ni gani, where are we going, which place, And the funny story is I remember one time, I think hiyo ndo nililearn lesson yangu. So some of the celebrities used to come to perform in the States. So one of my friends akaniambia, oh yeah, Trisha twende. So it was like here na club iko Thika. So she was like, yeah, no, I've sorted out ride, nini. So I was like, okay, cool. And she was like older than I was, So me, I trusted her, and she'd been in the States a bit longer than I was. Hata nikampatia hostel kizangu. I was like, okay, you'll take care of me. So we go out, dunda tumekatika mpaka 3 a.m. 3 a.m. Watch, I'm looking for the chick. Nowhere to be found. Her phone is mteja. That time my phone is 5 minutes as well. And it was like I almost felt like it was a thorough punishment from God. And I remember just wondering what am I going to do next? Because to Kothika, I don't know anyone else. Like I tried to socialize, but then, the club was being closed. Everyone had left. Nimebaki hapo. I'm wondering, how do I get myself back to campus? Worse off, this chick has my keys. Where am I going? 3 a.m. Where am I going to crash? And so, at least I found some friends who were driving back from my campus who'd also gone for the same sherehe. So they were like, okay, we can give you a ride. But I was like, okay, nikifika campus, where am I going? Where am I going to stay? And that time I have worn shorts and heels and a top. I'm freezing. And I was a hot mess. And honestly, I think that was my last time. After that, I was like, Dad, hey. I was like, I don't know how people survive. But it was a very, very, very long night. I think by the time that she reappeared, like the whole day was over.
Where
she was
did
coming
you,
back.
We want to know. We want the tea. What did you do when you got to campus?
So, it was just one of those stories where hata sijaminiangi. Yani, so yeah, we get back to campus. So the guy who'd offered a ride, I had to share and tell him, brother, this is the situation. That time I was like, do you have a chair, like a study desk where I can just go and sit? Because then I was like, obviously, this is just first of all, he's like a stranger. Like, it's my first time interacting with him. and we were just from the clubs, that time I'm not even sure whether he's 100% sober or not, so already I'm freaking out for my life. I'm just wondering, oh my gosh, like, what the hell is this I put myself in? So we fika campus, I share with him, because I had some campus friends, but because it was the weekend, most of them were not in the hostels, so I couldn't. None of my friends were in the hostels. So I had to nyenyekea and just ask the guy, can I just maybe come crash in, the study table chair? He was courteous enough to say, okay, sawa. So I went, sat on that arc. It was the most uncomfortable. The one you're trying to sleep, you have like hangover for dancing the whole entire night. You're so tired, you're so beat. I'm so mad, my phone is off. Hey, anyway, it was the longest night. Yeah, it was the longest night ever. And in my mind, I'm thinking, first of all, I'm taking a risk being in this guy's room. Anything and everything can happen. But I think I was just sat there repenting and telling God, imagine this is it. I'm never going to put myself in that situation. But going on with this conversation. Okay, so for me, that was my conviction. And I think from then on, because I remember just having a moment with the Holy Spirit asking me, truly, is this the life that you want to pursue for the rest of your time in the States, and in campus? And for me, that was just an awakening of, this is too high of a price to pay. Because anything would have even happened in that room, honestly, and we've had stories of, just campus girls, fateful things happening. And so for me, I know it's God's grace and mercy that definitely covered me and sustained me in that moment. But yes, I had that conviction. And I think from then on, I was like, you know what, it's easier living for God and pursuing God. And I remember just asking God to give me the right friends. Because for me, I realized the root cause wasn't that. I mean, the clubs are fun and all that, but then I was like, these are the friends that I have. This is my only community. So I asked God, give me the right friends who would direct me in the positive side of things, like church friends, people that we can go and do things that will honor God and not per se, like, things that would displease God. And for me, that's just how my journey took a turnaround. But I'd love to hear what was your turning point and what. First of all, have you even stopped?
So I had gone again with my master's people. Yeah, we had gone to the club.
Hey, master's was a weapon from the
I'm telling you. Yeah. But actually, just undergrad. Anyway, so we went, and then for some reason, guys were getting tired early that day. I don't know why. So kidogo one person was like, oh, tomorrow I have a what I need to go. Okay, bye. Kidogo another one. Oh, tomorrow I have a what. So they went leaving one by one. Then I was left there alone for some weird reason. And I didn't feel like going home for some weird reason. So I was like, okay, let me order like my last drink maybe, and then I can go. And then I remember, so I ordered, and then as the shots were being brought, or rather as I was waiting for that lady to bring them, I can't even explain to you. Like, I had sat on that, like, high, those tables that are very high, those, like, cocktail tables. Not high, I don't know. It's like for 1 second, I became very sober. And it's like I had like an out-of-body experience. And I was seeing people, it's like I was seeing, how can I explain it? Let me just say it as it is. So I was seeing the ladies in that club, the ones who are just dancing, others are chatting with their men, whatever. I saw them as like broken people, like very broken people, and like potential, like evangelism, I don't know, people, I don't know how to explain it, yeah. And then I had a very loud voice for the first time asking me, Nyasha, what are you doing here? And it was like a firm question, but a very warm, like it's like from a very warm and loving place. So it's like this person was very firm, like very firmly asking me, like, do you know what you're supposed to be? Like, do you know what I've called you for? Like, do you know what you're supposed to be? Do you know who you're supposed to become? What are you doing here? You're supposed to be bringing hope to these people. What are you doing here? Hey, and I remember I just came out, and that's by that time Noel, who is my husband, had already quit that whole life of going out and clubbing for some reason, and he was like my Hosea. I was just in the streets there, and he was, for some reason, he was very patient with me. So even that day, I remember I just went out of the club and I started crying remember, I'm still high. So I was crying and I called him, and then he's wondering, like, hi?
Zimeshika.
Yeah, why is this girl crying? I'm like, God has spoken to me. Oh my God, God has spoken to me. Oh my God, I'll never come back here again. This is my last time. I'm going home. And he's like, where are you? Rudi ndani ya hiyo club, go back, get a place, a safe place to sit. I get you an Uber. Like, don't be standing at outside the club at now. You know you can start walking to your house. So I was like, sour. So he called an Uber. When I went home, and from the time I woke up the next morning, I can't explain to you what happened, but I was like, I always look at it as that lady who bled for so many years. Yeah, I felt like I had touched something, though in this case it was the opposite. It's like someone had touched me, and I was just free. Like, I just, like, until today, like, I just don't desire to go to the club. I don't desire to drink alcohol. It's not a thing that I sit and I'm like, maybe I've missed, like, maybe I need to know. And for some weird reason, God didn't, like, uproot me 100% from my life, so that now I have a completely new life that is not church and whatever. But it's like he changed my role in all these spaces. You know, it's like the other day I had gone to a friend's event, family thing, and all of them were telling their mom, hey, Nyasha, she's a pastor. Nyasha, she's a pastor. And these are people who usually used to go out with. Sometimes they can't even have certain conversations around me. It's like they forgot about that other Nyasha, you know, like, I think, yeah, like, they don't tell me stuff. They're just like, hey, Nyasha is a pastor. Nyasha anaongea na Mungu, Nyasha. You know, yeah, so that was my encounter.
Wow. Interesting. I like smack right in the middle of the club. God found you.
And I used to hear those stories in high school, by the way.
Yeah.
Pastors used to come to preach to us. They're like, you know, there are demons dancing outside the speaker in the club. Ask the Lord to open your eyes.
The spirit's hovering.
Yeah, but I mean, I never used to believe those things. But that day I was just like, hapa kuna kitu for sure. Kuna kitu hapa. There's no way this was just.
But anyway, we have a teacher of the word over here who will maybe from the biblical perspective, she can just get to share whether that's true or not. Chep.
Well, Nyasha, yani I've just realized when God has an assignment for you and anaona delete, anakukamata kwenye huko tu kama soul.
Yep.
Because anaona at this, you know, like God is calling you to purpose, and also the enemy is trying to push you. So I think God loves us so much. Anaona nikiacha huyu atiamalize, atamaliza, shetani atamaliza. So mine is the same. Like, literally, I was just living that double life. But now a funny thing, I knew that this is a double life. So even in church, I didn't want to make friends. I didn't want to be involved in a lot of activities. Like, I was just at a squana Bible. Then I started discipleship. So I think first, second, third class. So funny thing, the week before that discipleship class, I didn't drink as much as I used to. Like, the way I'd buy 2 bottles of Gilbis or Gordons and finish and what. Nilijisikia tu niko in a place of peace kidogo. So I even thought, kwani niko na stress? So when I went to class that Sunday, the teacher was just teaching. Aki your class, I don't know. It was like that whole disciples experience in the book of Acts. Like, the teacher was teaching 1 minute, the next minute everyone is praying, people are falling down. Hata mimi nikaanguka. Yani when I woke up, when I came to self, I was, first of all, it's like they had put sellotape in my mouth. I was just quiet. I just got into the car. I went home. I sat in the living room, and God just gave me clear instruction, like, your life is not going to be the same from today. You have to first move out of this house. I'm gonna take away some people from your life. You're gonna be alone for a while, and then I'm gonna later bring people. And that's how it went. So first I'm like, God, they'll refuse me to move. I've not given out notice. He's like, call this person. I called the landlord. I told him I'm moving. He gave me a hard time. Then later he just said, just move. So I literally moved, I think, on Thursday. I moved. I went to a place I've never lived. I don't know anyone. And funny thing, I never made friends in that area. Yani, it just never happened, even neighbors. I went, and it was a lonely journey. I didn't make friends. I lost my friends one by one, like some of them, and some of them stuck. The ones that went are the ones who couldn't accommodate the new Chep, like constantly, hey, mbona uliacha? Hey, sijui ni utarudi tu. Those ones went, but some were accommodative. And honestly, since then, I've never taken alcohol. I've never had that desire to go to the club. And I just want to add something. When I used to club, I used to feel some sense of rejection. I don't know how to explain. Niko hapa lakini nasikia sijui ni kama hii place hainitaki ama watu wa huko wanitaki. And later I got the revelation that because I was not meant for that space, that's why it never felt at home. And yani, as Nyasha is saying, I used to just sit sometimes and drink and just kitu tu inaniambia, all of you inside here are so broken. Are so broken.
Yeah.
So yani na unakata tu
it's an
accept.
emptiness.
Yeah, but
you're
it's
trying
like
to
sometimes
feel.
when you're drinking, I don't know, even God anakuevangelizia tu kwa hiyo drunkenness. Because sometimes I look at people, I'm like, that one is stressed. Me, I'm stressed about my business or my relationship. This one, ana kazi. Uyu
Ana
sijui
boyfriend.
nini. And then somehow I'd always feel the spirit of death just moving around and whatnot. And now even when I stop drinking, it's funny. I hate to say this, but now I'm sharper now to eat. Sometimes you see, like on Instagram, I can see someone has posted. Like sometimes I can even be asleep and something wakes me up. I get on my phone and I see someone has posted and they're drinking and what, and sometimes the Holy Spirit will tell me to pray for them, and then I am asking questions instead of praying, and weeks later that person dies. So it happened like 3 times. So now when that happens, I realize God was using, like, because I was there and he removed me, he's using me to remove them, but I was not getting it. So now when I get that prompt, I pray, because I've seen like 3 people die and God is telling me pray for them or call them, and I don't do anything. So yeah.
Wow. That's powerful. Very powerful. Annabel, maybe you can share just, I think also just the biblical, I think they've shared about just, first of all, the place of emptiness, which I also firmly believe, there's that emptiness that sometimes there's that void we try to fill with so many things, from the world, whether it's through clubbing, whether it's through drinking or fornication, that all these things that sometimes we think it's helping us feel high, but in reality it's robbing us of the joy that we're trying to pursue, and the peace that we're trying to chase after, because it's just a fleeting moment of joy or fleeting moment of happiness that is not long lasting. But you can share some of your thoughts on that.
So I think in regard to Chep's story, I'm just thinking about Jude. I think that scripture that says, it's a verse that says that we're supposed to snatch as many people as we can from the fire. And so when it comes to, I think there's instant conversion, in the sense that you encounter God and instantly, like, you stop drinking, stop going to the club. But then there are also people who gradually God walks them out of that space that they're in. And so no 2 journeys look the same. But then at the same time, we have to trust and believe that God is doing a work in all of us. And so maybe something for me, I don't understand how, like, you guys can go to the club and you're still serving in church. So for me, those things, like, God settles things really quickly in terms of conviction. But then there's also the place where I have to give grace to people, because I know God is working in them. And I think sometimes also that comes with a space where I am, in the sense that, because I know God has called me to teach, like, some truths just, like, they sink in and it's cemented. So we also have to give each other the grace and realize that God, like, there's a push and pull in terms of, like, the kingdom of light and the kingdom of darkness. Each of those 2 kingdoms wants a claim or a stake in this person. And so we have to contend for them, like Chep is saying, that the kingdom of light that they would be opened up to see the kingdom of light,
That's powerful. And on that conversation where Nyasha was saying, like, I think some of these environments, and majority of the time, you'll find a lot of believers who are pro or they're against clubbing. It's because of the whole concept that every environment carries a certain atmosphere. So can we talk about the atmosphere?
The atmospheres. I think, just to add as well, for me, in the sense that I wasn't drinking, but I was living a double life. And so like when I would get alcohol from my client, I wouldn't take it, I would give it to my boyfriend and he would drink it. The person was, and so again, there's a place of personal yielding in the sense that are you submitting yourself to the journey that God is calling you to? Because there's a place where God is going to allow you whether you're going to choose him or reject him. And so if you reject him, then he allows you to go down the same path because he has a plan. Like God gives you, I think in the children of Israel were told, I'm paraphrasing, but then they were told, choose life or choose death. Decide today which path you will choose. So I think there's a place where you have to choose God, and there's also the space where, in terms of just the atmospheres, because of specifically where you are in terms of your maturity and walk with God, there's some things that you cannot see, but the reality is that at every place we are, two kingdoms are at play. So there's the kingdom of darkness that is in spaces where it represents anything that is not of God. So I don't think even in the club, if it's drunkenness, it's a lack of self-control, it's debauchery, it's like immorality, it's lust. So when we think about it, that's a kingdom of darkness that is at play. So there's no light in that space. But again, we have to be patient with people and realize that they are all walking a journey that they have to personally submit themselves to, and hopefully and pray and contend for them that they would be their spiritual eyes would be opened to the atmosphere that is at play.
I love that. I don't know whether you have any other contribution, especially about the atmosphere.
No, I think maybe just to add on what she said, there's so much that happens. Like there are so many underlying issues that will cause someone to be in that struggle. Yeah, so like you're saying, you're broken, you're in pain. Sometimes the pain is not even your business or your boyfriend. It's deep-seated. It's from when you are growing up, So it's like, it's not something that a person, someone there at the parking lot in church will come and just tell you, wait, like that's not going to, it's not going to change anything. Because they're also, the weapons of this fight are not they are not with words and pointing fingers and saying, ule, that one anakuanga na double life, The best thing we can do for people who are struggling is pray for them. Because it's so funny, like I experienced that in the middle of, so I had that life undergrad, then I came out of it very seriously and powerfully, and I had a beautiful, that one wasn't God spoke to me or whatever. It was that whole walking slowly with people and all that. But I still found myself back when I was doing my master's, So that tells you it's a struggle, it's very, even as much as someone might present as Nyasha, for example, and they don't look like they're guilty at all. They don't even look like they even want to change that. Like they're so comfortable being in both spaces. The truth is they also don't even know why they're like that. They don't even know, like, how numb have I become that I don't even, you'd rather even find someone who's like, me church, please. That is a person who is at least not numb. At least they have felt it, mpaka they've decided, let me enjoy this other side. But for someone who is so comfortable, it means they've reached a point where they're so numb to the voice of the Holy Spirit, to the devil, to anything. Like they really just don't care. Like they're just enjoying life, and they're just taking one day at a time, So for such a person, someone who's going through that, I think it's so important to pray for them. Like even minus asking them questions, like you can ask me all the questions and I will give you the right answers because I have done it for long and I know what to say, Nyasha, are you sleeping with a boyfriend? No. Why would I be sleeping with my boyfriend? Excuse me, I'm going to heaven, Nyasha, are you drinking? No. Nyasha, are you going to the club? No. Me, you saw me, club gun? Where? Never. Like I know what to tell you. But if you pray for me, as you said, for my spiritual eyes to be open, I feel like you've done me the best thing ever. Yeah, because it's these things are very spiritual, emotional. Like they're not things that you can see outside. For some it's validation that they're looking for, and it's not because they are weak people. It's just because maybe they were brought up in a very messed up background that they never got any kind of validation, and so now they're getting it in the wrong place. Yeah, for some it's just pain. For some it's disappointment. They've been disappointed for so long that they're like, hey, God, are you really there? Like, do you even care about me? Let me go and find my own joy then, you know. Yeah, so I guess just looking at people through the eyes of compassion, just like Jesus. Yeah, because it can happen to anybody.
That's
true. Like you can be Bishop so and so, and then one mistake like this, you know, one encounter with someone like this, and your life has changed completely.
That's true.
And your Tiger Woods the next day saying, I don't know that woman. I have never seen that woman, you know, and get like, he was living a lie. You weren't living a lie. It's just a lot of things that are undealt with inside. Yeah. So, sorry, last thing, gosh, I'm talking too much. So maybe something else that I could also say about now the person who's going through this. I think for me, what helped me was also just being honest with yourself. Like not all the time being ready to fight or looking at people, expecting them to look at you with the eyes of compassion and did you see how did you hear what so and so said? You know, like understand that they're also human and they're also in their own journey. But for you, just being honest with yourself and trying to just find out, like, you know, what is really causing me to be here? Am I happy? And if I'm not happy, am I able to stop it? Why don't I want to even stop it if I don't want to stop it? And if I want to stop it, why is it so hard for me? Why is Chep just so okay not drinking? You know, Chep, how do you do it? You know, just being honest and looking for people who you can just go and, of course, people who are also wise and compassionate. You know, people who will not break your spirit. And just being honest, like, Aki, I've messed up. Trisha, again, I have found myself in a club. What do I do? You know, just being honest, with yourself and even with God, not coming before God with masks, trying to please Him, yet He knows He knows your heart inside out. He knows your struggles, He knows your weaknesses, He knows your desires, even the evil desires. Just being honest and telling God, hey, God, help me, you know,
I love that. Chep, I think you had something to add, but I think you can also build up on the importance of discipleship, because I feel like there's usually, especially for believers who are struggling with that double life, you know, church on Sunday, so He's a God you pick up on Sundays, but the rest of the day, unamwacha, you do your own things. So you can speak into that.
So first, let me back up what Nyasha has said. Your story, praying for them. You know, I feel the element of wanting to be in control as human beings is so dangerous because we don't have the power to change things. Only God does. Like, if God has decided this will change, it will. And if He has decided it won't, it won't. And an example is after I stopped drinking, you know, the funny thing, the same thing you like begins to be the same thing you completely dislike. So I really disliked the drinking. And my brother was like my best friend. And now we used to party together and bakishiana drinks. And now at Tuskizani, your area. So I was beginning to get really annoyed that he still drinks. He doesn't want to leave. And, you know, in that moment, I'm forgetting how God was patient with me. Yani, I was just forgetting. So I had a moment where I was spending time on anger more than prayer about Him. So one time God convicted me. He's like, how long did I wait? So long. I want you to exercise that patience. Now pray for him. So I prayed for him. I told my friends to pray for him, my cell group members. And I never had that conversation with him. If he would come to visit me, if he comes with his drink, I'll let him drink. But I told him I'll never use my money to buy you drinks. So I prayed. And one day we went to, I was meeting him to help me with some work. And then later we were going to hang out. So because my brother was used to the environment for the bar, I told him that day, I show you me what I normally do. So I went, I took him to Java, then I got him a peppermint mocha. He loved it so much. I think 2 weeks didn't isha. He's like, I've stopped drinking. Wow. And I didn't even tell him, oh, sure. I just was like, I'm happy for you. Yeah. Now I literally wrote him what to do when you stop drinking. enjoy tea, flavor your tea. He came to my house. I showed him how to make a mocha. Like, I just led him through with a lot of love. And I'm happy to testify that 1 week ago we celebrated 1 year of his sovereignty. So we went to his house, we cooked, we had a good time. And in that instance, like, God has used this situation to minister to me that don't condemn your friends when they are still there. Don't kemea them, don't ask them why, because as Nyasha is saying, you really don't know the driving force. It can be trauma, it can be identity, it can be acceptance, it can be sometimes also they're going there so that they can look for a spouse. Like, so many things lead us to do things. So what is your work is to pray and tell the Holy Spirit, uproot the lead cause and reveal it to them and help them out of it. And so once you understand the power of prayer as a believer, you stop thinking you can change situation and look to the one who can. And your work is to love on those people, because even if you look at Jesus didn't go around saying, oh, this one is a prostitute, nah, I'm not sitting with her. He was even kinder to them because there's nothing that is powerful as love, because love changes people. Love does change people. Like, you can love on someone and they're like, yani huyu mtu ananipenda na niko hivi, let me change. But what do? We condemn. We point fingers with what, and now we are giving them reasons to validate and say, unaona hawa wa Kristo yeye mtu anipendi. They now go where they are loved. And for me, that's the greatest lesson I've been learning this past year. Yeah, they love each other.
The community is
They
strong.
have a community. You're my family, and I will get you an Uber to go home. I remember even someone will buy you food and they don't know you. And then you're like, that is where the rain had started beating us as believers. That's because true. We don't share that love with each other. We leave church, I don't even ask you, hey, are you going Nini? I drop you, or can I buy you lunch or what? And then someone is offering to even pay rent for them, and they don't know each other. So we need to beat, if we want to beat this thing of alcoholism, clubbing and what, the only way to beat it is love and prayer. For me, that's my biggest belief that it really works. Now, the next question you asked at the Holy Spirit is, so discipleship. Let me use context. If you want to lose weight or get in shape, if you go to the gym once in a while, it's never gonna work, because what you're eating or your activities outside the other days are overpowering the gym that you go once. But when you are exercising your muscles even more and more oftenly, you find that your weight goals and your gym goals and whatnot become achievable. So the same way with church and discipleship. I started to realize, if I go to church on Sunday only to skiza the sermon, I'm never gonna be different. But when you sign up to things like discipleship, hapo ni kama uko darasa. By default, you'll start listening, and by default, now the Holy Spirit will have room to talk to you.
The renewal of your mind.
The Holy Spirit, there are so many people who God has a word for them, but they've not created the atmosphere. And I feel discipleship is important because it creates the atmosphere. Because for me, it did. And I've even seen other friends of mine who they joined discipleship, and after that, it's been different. And even discipleship, even not just the class itself, even the context of believers being around each other and helping each other, and even noticing a pattern in your friend. Noticing a pattern and talking to them about it with love. The cell groups, in there, God changes you. Because if today I come and I realize, wow, Nyasha used to gossip so much. Squeezy, when we come to cell group, she's not gossiping. Now even me, I'm like, hey, why are you changing? Something is and it's just like the way you were in school, like your friend comes with sneakers, another one comes with a new what, and even you now you want. Now imagine desiring the level of holiness that we see amongst each other when we come together. Because you see some people, I believe the Bible stopped being written because God was like, you will be Bibles for each other. Can you imagine? So many people can come to salvation without opening a Bible. That's true. Yani akikuona hivi you are a Bible. Anaona, Nyasha, she's gracious. Anava smart. Her hair is always well done. Even as women, small things can make someone become a believer. I've had people who come and tell me, may God say, because I just you do nice content, you like to cook. Very small things can make someone transform. So even that is discipleship. So if you want to transform fast, hang around even the people that you meet in church. This thing for going to church on Sunday alone and you're disappearing after like I used to, you'll never be transformed, because 90% of your time you're in the world, you're in the office, you're in traffic, you're in what, you don't have time. But you see, when you hang around by default, you start becoming like them. You know, the same concept of fruits, like ukieka kwa yenye imeoza inaoza. And then now like bananas, I realize kama zinakosa kuiva ukieka na passion fruit zimeiva, zinaiva zote. So the same concept. So discipleship is really key. You cannot walk alone, and there's a verse for two cannot walk together unless they agree. Yes. So there's power in numbers. Now what are those numbers looking like? Who are those people who are around you?
Absolutely. Annabel.
And you know what I like about what Nyasha and Chep are saying is that I think it's easy for us to condemn because it's the easiest way out, because we don't want to put in the time to pray. Because prayer is labor. Like you are literally on your knees, whatever. I mean, you have to make time to like literally pray, you know. And so it's easier for us to condemn people because we also do not know how to even pray for those people, even for ourselves. But I also think, again, it comes from the place where we don't understand the nature of God. You know, like what Chep is saying, that we look at other people and we imagine, like, mbono unafanya hivi, you know, you should stop doing this, 1, 2, 3. And like she said, it reminds me about, like, in Exodus, when Moses asked to see God, the nature of God, or how God describes himself, is that the Lord is compassionate and gracious, you know, slow to anger, faithful in love and truth. So we also have to understand that the nature of God and his heart is that all men would know him, all men would go to heaven, you know. So when we understand God's heart for people, is that he desires salvation for everyone. And so when we start looking at people, we start looking at people with compassion, because they might not look like what we look like what we prefer, you know. They might be dirty, all those things, but we have to see people how God sees them. Like, and as I look at this person, I'm thinking, you know what, God desires for that man,
like
to be
the way
saved.
we see potential clients,
You know, God desires for this person to be saved. And so if he desires for this person to be saved, then whatever it is that they're in, the pain, whatever it is that is showing up in the sense, or in the form of going to the club and drinking, it grieves God's heart, and then it should also grieve my heart, you know. And so, but I think at the same time, as we are within the same circles of friends who are also drinking, I believe personally that there's a place of love and firm boundaries, like what Chep is saying, in the sense that, I mean, you're drinking, but I won't finance that lifestyle. You're drinking, but then you won't come to my house drunk, you know. And it's not saying that I am condemning you, but I'm also saying that there are boundaries as to how we're going to interact with each other. Like, again, what she's saying, you know, small yeast has the ability to affect a big batch of dough. So even as we're going out to people, we also have to realize, like, I think in Jude it says that we cast off the filthy rags, that we don't get around people, because that the filthy rags have an ability to soil us. So we also have to do it with a lot of wisdom and grace, and saying, you know what, I will love on this person. I won't condemn you. I won't ask you, sasa unafanya nini, or like, what are you thinking? You know, I won't quarrel this person. But then I'll also be firm and say, you know what, you can't drink in my house. You know, it's okay, you're drunk, come, misawa, but no alcohol. Or and it might be hard for the other person to accept, and they might walk away from us, but then we're still in the place of prayer, and we're still contending for them. But then the other thing I've also realized, like what we're saying, is that as we pursue God for ourselves, we become cities on a hill. There's light. And so somehow that person who is drinking is attracted to that light, because they're like, something is different about this person. You know, so if we as believers, like, stand in our place, stand in position, you know, like, we'll evangelize, we'll attract people, we'll influence people just because of light. There's something that someone will be like, there's something different about Nyasha. I can't pinpoint. I can't pinpoint it, but I just want to be around her. And it's the same for even with her. Like, when I'm around Nyasha, I'm happy. You know, but it's God within her. So I think all those things, if we do those things, then we'll really, like, we'll snatch a lot of people from the fire.
Absolutely. And I love today's conversation because I think it reminds me of the story of the Samaritan woman, and just the emptiness that she had, the things that she was craving, but also just looking at the approach that Jesus had. First of all, Jesus was just interested in her as a person. He didn't approach her starting with, condemning her, with her sin. The like calling her out came uko mwisho, after he showed interest, got to know her, got to interact with her. He was very patient with her, and just through that place of building relationship and genuine interest and just that place of compassion is what eventually even led to the conviction. He didn't Christ didn't even need to use too many words. Kumhubiria na hey okoka, hell is waiting,
And even the power that he actually knew her story, yet gave the grace for her to speak it herself.
Yes.
Imagine how many times do we know something una attack mtu nayo.
Kwanza you use the dirtiest part. Not only the dirtiest, ile unajua just want to address
nini
you.
na wewe sijui nini. Imagine Jesus knew and he let her speak.
And I think that's one of the most powerful stories, even as believers, knowing that there's a place of grace, compassion, and redemption, regardless of what our journeys look like. And for some people, it may be a struggle, like an on and off. And I don't think this is like a straight up yes or no answer, oh, it's absolutely wrong and it's evil and it's sin and the Bible says, I think it's one of those things. For me personally, one of the biggest questions I've always asked myself is, being in this atmosphere or being in this environment, how am I glorifying God with it? So the bottom line is not, is this wrong? Is it right? I think the question is, when you're in that environment with that loud music and people grinding and, how is it glorifying God? And then jijibu, ask yourself that question. How are you feeling? What is the Holy Spirit saying every time you put yourself in that atmosphere, and yet you come out, confessing Christ is Lord and preaching to masses, like just try and reconcile those two. Alafu ujijibu, because I don't think it's a yes or no answer.
I wanted to add something on the part for drinking and clubbing. When I was that season that 2021, that year that I stopped drinking, when the year started, when I was telling God what I want for the year, I told God, since I was a child, I've never seen my mom drive a car. I just want to buy her a car. And I felt like God was quiet on me, like he's not saying anything, like I'll make a way, amanini. And I kid you not, after I think 3 months after I quit, I just had that money. Like I had that money. And God ministered to me and he told me that I have equipped people already with the resources to do the things that I've called them to do, to change their generation, to do what. But the enemy creates a distraction of your income with the alcoholism and what, such that you find you spend so much money on alcohol. Na hiyo pesa in short si yako. There's someone who's supposed to go to school with that money. There's a parent who's supposed to gain something. There's you. Maybe there's a project God wants to use you to build. So, I've learned that the enemy does not come directly and take away from you. He decorates the systems to take from you. And so, sorry to say, sometimes as Africans, we even cry black tax. But honest truth, you guys can call me out and say whatever you want, but I believe God has already given us the resources. They are just being misused. They're just being taken to the wrong places. Because after I stopped drinking, there are so many things that maybe I had wanted even for 5 years that God was able to do. And I can't say it's me who did that. Immediately fanya kazi ama mimi. They were already there. I was just misusing them. So there's, apart from the thing of glorifying God even by not just going to the club, even your income, is it glorifying God? Because if your income is going to alcohol, and that's what I was telling my brother, I will never give you money to drink, because that income will not glorify God when I give it to you to take alcohol. So for me, I'd love to tell people who are even in that space of you're struggling with alcoholism and whatnot, there's so much God can use to do with that income to even change your story and that of your whole generation. But by being in that space, it's going to be very hard for it to happen. And the irony, I don't know if it happened, Nyasha, if you saw, sazini mkipiga sherehe, like if you go to one person's house, you don't have tissue, but you bought a boti for 15K. You know that math was not mathing. And that's how you know the things of, the things of God are ordered.
Even
now,
food,
there's
you
no
haven't
order.
you haven't bought at
Mimi, let me
batch
tell you,
food
that
for the
for
month.
staying hungry in your house and
Hey.
you're drinking together.
Ugali nini mayai every day.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So even things like that should
I'm a
already
buffalo.
show you
That's
that
all.
this is honestly exactly. And these people are very quick to buy you alcohol,
But they wouldn't assist you.
Yeah, because there's a time we were seated
Pay
somewhere
rent.
and that lady there started, you know how alcohol just can also make you talk and emotional. She just started saying how she hasn't paid rent, she hasn't paid internet, and suddenly there are people who are buying botis for 15K huko. Ni kama walikuwa wamewekwa sellotape kwa mdomo. They're like, oh, Isa. And then after that wacha tu ghosting. So yani unaona, so you even see the spirit that is carried through in that spaces is not for growth, it's for yani wastage, is not for is yani mimi
I had
resources.
one time I was talking to someone about alcohol and I was like, you're spending so much money, and he asked me, he had the audacity to ask me, where umejenga flat gani, you know.
Where?
And so it's that place of like, they also don't even want to be told what to do with that money. And so you see, like what Chep is saying is that, again, you can't reason with someone like that. Is there even a comeback to something like that? The only thing you can do is start praying for them that their money would not be used again to fund a lifestyle that does not honor and glorify God. Yeah.
Don't look at the big assets. Ati so they make you know that meme that has been trending. Ati kama if you can't buy a house with it, drink with it. If you can't do what, drink with that money. Like sometimes it's not even the big things. Sometimes it's even just what we're talking about, the small things, like you don't have like what's a roll of tissue. You don't have like, the 12 rolls somewhere in a store in your house for the month, oh, okay. Unless you're having diarrhea. If you're living alone, I don't know why you're using 12. But anyway, you don't have meat, like an assortment of meats in your freezer. You don't even have a freezer. You don't have a fridge. You don't have, like you. It looks,
yeah,
it
sorry
looks
to
small.
say, sometimes unaona penye msichana ametoka
versus
venye
how they
anakaa kwa
look.
club, Instagram yake inakaa,
Exactly.
pombe ana post,
Exactly.
they are not aligning.
Exactly. So it's not just in the very big, like a car, ile utasema, I mean, by the time I afford a car, let me just drink this money. Think of it, just the quality of life that you're living in the morning. Like, what is your breakfast? What breakfast are you having in the morning? What water are you drinking? Do you have a dispenser? Are you drinking from the tap? Yeah. Where are you living? And it's not that you must be like in Lavington.
Places.
Yeah, but just the quality of life that you can afford. Are you kind of reducing yourself just because of, just because of that temporary pleasure with people? And then the saddest thing is that all of you people are somehow losing in certain places, So for you, maybe it's a car. For another one, it's meat. For another one, it's tissue. So don't get that, misery loves company. Don't get that peace within numbers, thinking that, we are doing this together. The truth is, at the end of the day, all of you, when you're alone, you can just look back and say, well, like, I think I always tell you guys, like, in uni, imagine I used to sell clothes.
Yeah.
I used to buy second-hand clothes. Imagine I used to buy
customer.
Imagine. By then I used to sell skirts and scarves to everyone. So nauza scarf, nauza skirts. But ukiniuliza, hiyo pesa inaenda wapi? And I was selling sana in Strath. So in Strath, you buy a skirt for huko 50 bob. Because I had another chaga lady huko. She would just keep for me camera. Unakuja unauzia watu 1,500, 1,200. Yani immediately you're just waiting. Thursday, where are you? Imagine. So when you look back, you're like, yes, that time I was a student, I was in a hostel, but who said that, I'm a student, I should just be okay with this hostel life? I moved out of the hostel life finally to start from an SQ, imagine. Surely. Na meko.
And the money you had, you're very entrepreneurial and very hardworking,
And
but
there's
all
no
the
like
money
a
was being
spirit of
wasted.
refusing to grow when you're
Yeah,
in that
'cause,
life.
yeah,
'Cause
you're
unataka
saving
tu
that
kuwe
money
na
for
do ya
nonsense.
sherehe. Yani it's so funny
Yeah.
that you would go, maybe kuna trip ya maybe mnafaa kutoa 50k each. You would nyima yourself even food, even a nice shoe, just to make sure your trip ujakosa. Just
But I also think in like what you were sharing, I think also when I was on, there's also just the that word imepotea.
Charisma.
Camaraderie.
The camaraderie.
that comes with the drinking buddies. That you also, like there's also that longing, the looking back of like, wow, these guys are not fun. They don't even check out. They don't even, So I think even us guys, even us who have been there and are here, have a key responsibility to play in the sense of, are we representing Christ in a way that is even attractive to
beautiful.
people? That is beautiful, because if he's a creator of all good things, then surely good things should abound on this side. Joy, laughter, that friendship community. So I think we'll also do a poor job of even just attracting, evangelizing with our lives. And I think that's and
And too uptight, heavenlies.
Yeah, like you could go for nice Bible study picnics,
Yeah.
and potlucks and whatnot. Because when I've done that, I see people even who are not believers, they're like, I want to plug it. And that's an opportunity to evangelize to them, for them to just come and see. And by the way, some people just okoka by, they come, they will observe.
They sit,
Watu wanapendana, they're just having a good time the way we have a good time. And then they decide to give their life to Christ. So I agree that there's a part we play in representing. Pia, I think even Jesus had a good time, honestly, in a way that glorifies.
Na mkate free, fish free,
So yeah.
Yeah. And I think I think that was my final question, even as we land this conversation, in terms of now that we're saying, okay, like clubbing and doing all these things may not be, the best place and spaces to put yourself in as a believer who's trying to walk in the will of God and honor God. So what else for, can a young person do? Because I remember for me, my dilemma when I was in campus was, I'm young, I'm energetic, I love dancing, I'm looking for social life, because I agree, that sometimes it's those deep-rooted issues within us that make us find ourselves in those spaces and situations. But then there were people like us who just wanted to socialize, we are there for social life, not that we have deep-rooted issues, even your personality, mtu wa sherehe, life of the party, you've just found yourself there, So then, what are some of the healthy spaces and things that young believers can do that would still be enjoyable, they would still socialize and still feel like, hey, yeah, I've spent my energy doing the right thing and still honoring God at the end of the day?
For me, I think I'd say just first of all, find your tribe. Yeah, just because you've come, for example, to this church community, and it can be intimidating, I know, when you come and there are people who have been going to heaven for 10 years before you. So you just come there and you're like, hey, huku watu kweli wameingiana.
Hallelujah. Wamepewa gown zao za white.
So just find your tribe. Take your time. The same way, even in the other side, you wouldn't just go out with anyone. Maybe in the club you'll be chatting and laughing with everyone, but you won't come out of your house at tea. You just stand outside your house and you're like, are you free? Tende, you have your people, and you even have those ones who will say, nani, anakwanga messy huyo, acha tusiende naye, So it's the same thing even in church. Just know yourself, know your personality, know how God created you. That way you won't constantly struggle to fit in. Because I think the problem is we force ourselves to fit in because you're like, this looks like the cool crowd. Yeah. For example, most churches nowadays, it's the worship team or the creative arts team, it just looks like, huku ndio kunawaka, So you come, maybe you can't sing so well. Sasa already you're struggling because you can't sing so well, it's like,
And you're trying to fit in.
So it's like, as much as, yes, maybe you're a part of the worship team, if there are other things during the week that maybe people are going to do, or like they're going to events to sing somewhere, they won't consider you, not because they hate you or anything, but just because you can't sing. So they're like, okay, I'll call Chep, at least I know Chep can sing, ataimba alto, So such things, unapata, you struggle because you're trying to just force yourself to become something that you're naturally not, So if you're into cooking, like Chep, you'll find like there are people who actually enjoy cooking, and again, you don't have to fit with all of them. Yeah, based on your personality, maybe you'll be like, I'm a loud person. Like, for example, I'm a very loud person, so I get drained easily, with very deep conversations. Like sometimes I'm just like, hey,
it's a lot.
It's a lot. I have been spoken to, thank you, that's enough, So instead of trying to force yourself to, let me hang out with the pastors because they'll know I look like I'm a certain place in my, like just do you. If you're Pastor Annabel here, hang out with your pastor friends, speak about the souls of the condo and, how you can help us better and, like just be real with who you are, find your tribe. And then, again, part of being real is just doing things that you enjoy doing, So sometimes, again, you don't come waiting for people to think for you or people to suggest plots or people to be the ones to plan your life. It's you to even just say, by the way, I really enjoy hiking. Do you know people here who like hiking? Like, I have this place, I don't know. And funny enough, by the way, no offense, but most times you'll find like in the church space, like it's the fact actually is that they are not very, we tend to not be very exposed, unfortunately. So you might find like if it's restaurants and all that, hey, ukiuliza huyu atakufea the same thing. CJ is a good spot, and you're just like, hey,
what's a different restaurant?
like guys, muna hata experiences huku nje, or like those places where people go to, the guys who are into hiking. Me, I'm not into hiking, so I don't know, but those people, I see you guys with ropes, everywhere, you're just sliding onto things,
Bungee jumping.
Like come and bring the life, come and be the light, come and suggest things, be open to things. As much as maybe you're not into hiking, just say yes one day. You never know, like you might go and say, okay, this thing is fun. So just don't be mysterious. I think I had said once in a vlog a while back, don't be mysterious, as you're saying, Don't be that girl who, or that boy who shows up, service imeisha hivi, parking, car out, or Uber out, don't be mysterious. Just hang around, try and hear what people plan. And then don't be so choosy. Like, even if you are not involved in a plot and you have heard about it and then you've been extended for the invite last minute, just be like, I'm actually free. Let's go.
That's true. Chep. Kwanza hata wacha ni backup kwa point yake. Hata wale watu wanasema God when. Watu wakiproposiwa God when. God when.
Na
okay.
Amaya, and now when that plot, by the way, my mom says, hakuna waiting bay ya spouse. You can meet your spouse anywhere. So, unaliauna mtu ukisikia plot kwa church. I don't like being outside. And that used to be me. So I'm not judging you. I'm saying from experience. Just go. Like, okay, as long as it's not glorifying something else other than God, enda your picnic, enda your potluck, enda your hangout, enda your sijui hiking, sijui nini kwa wale watu wanapenda, some of us.
Enda gym.
Enda gym. You might just interact with people. Someone might share a very strong point with you or make you see. God does not choose where to minister to you anywhere, even in a matatu.
Absolutely.
So that, just go out there. Also, as she said, find your tribe. Unajua I don't know, we go to church assuming kila mtu ameokoka tu we can get along with anyone. No. Even in church, there's your kind of people and the people who are not your kind, but you all love God. No one is bad. So find your tribe. Find people who are alike. So if you don't like deep conversations, find your chilled people. If you like depth and arguments and what, find lawyers in church and hang out with them. So find your tribe and also be very proactive about things. Like, you can create gigs. You can say, ladies, we are meeting to meet, we want to cook, we want to have a picnic, yani a lot of things. I was even thinking about the other day, like, why can't girls in church meet out for a closet sale? Like, you bring the clothes you no longer wear or they don't fit evil, we meet as we talk about God and exchange and what, just try and find being easy. Hey, nika unaogopa yeah. Oh yeah, pressure. Yeah. Yeah. True. Kabisa. Come together, make mocktails, like alcohol free, nini. Make like learn just learn how to live. Yeah. Kwanza wale wa kupeperuka. Yeah. So me, I'd say things that are still fun, but glorify God, that you don't have funny sleepovers.
Yeah. And even social spaces. I think worship night, Mavuno Lavington normally has also some, fun spaces that they have going on, music, acoustic, praise pop-up. K Crew as well normally has a lot of stuff going on for young people. Nairobi Chapel. There are different churches within the city where people can get to plug in and engage in fun, exciting stuff that at the end of the day honors God and doesn't leave you feeling empty like some of these spaces, or bored. At least, by the time I'm living there, I'm encouraged, I'm empowered, I'm happy, I have this joy, lasting joy, I have this peace, I'm not in regrets, I don't even remember half of the things I did last night. So I think they're, just plugging into your local church and finding out what are some of the programs for young people to do that is fun and engaging. Annabel, your last thoughts?
I think I would say the same thing, but I think just a caveat here. One of the things I found with church events, again, is that all of us are going with different agendas. Like, me, I'm going to find a spouse. Me, I'm going to, and it becomes such a, as in, it's no longer enjoyable because everyone is like everyone is just trying to find something. Everyone has a motive. So I think sometimes you don't necessarily have to do a church event. It can be whether that's hiking. Find a group of hikers who just love doing that, and so you go out and do that.
You can even evangelize there.
Or like bike riding, guys who ride bikes.
So like Nyasha has said, me, I'm the complete opposite. Me, shallow conversations.
Okay, I don't. Okay, wait. I don't do shallow conversations. I'm very real.
She's a very light-hearted person.
And then I'm very real. Like, as you said, how you said sometimes though that was in the club, but even just in life generally, you're talking to someone and you can tell, you can feel that they're struggling or they're going through something.
Lakini anataka kuambia, hata jana nilinunua gari.
Or even talking about very abstract spiritual things. And you almost want to tell them, imagine, can we just talk about life? Can you just tell me how you are genuinely?
Tell me how your cat has refused to do
So
for me, I think I struggled in the church space, finding my tribe. But then it's also because everyone is coming everyone is trying to put up a face, and so it's also just understanding yourself. Like me, I'm a serious homebody. No FOMO, no amount of FOMO is going to make me feel bad that I missed an event. And so finding avenues that that allow you to connect with God. Nature connects you with God. Allowing you to connect with people. And go along, and also just pray and ask God. God, me, I want friends. Bring them along. God honors those prayers. He'll bring along people who are going to, help you do life together. So I think everything we've said, it doesn't have to be in a church space because there's pure fun outside of church
as well. That's absolutely true. Just finding the right community and getting to plug in. And I think also above all, doing the work, discipling, the work of discipleship, the work of prayer, the work of community, and just asking God and the Holy Spirit to keep transforming you. And I think ultimately this conversation is not, about whether clubbing is sin or not. I think ultimately the question is, whatever I'm doing, how is it glorifying God? And at the end of the day, am I living for God? Is this particular thing that I'm doing drawing me closer to God? So I think ultimately that's the question that each one of us needs to ask ourselves. But that brings us to the end of today's conversation. I really hope that you've drawn something from all of these ladies, something that you can say has probably inspired you, challenged you, and possibly would lead you to change on some of the decisions and choices that you have made or are making in your life. But thank you so much for tuning in. And would you go ahead in the chat comment section and let us know what is one thing that you are taking away from today's conversation? One word or a phrase or a statement that any one of us shared that you are taking with you from today's conversation. Would love to hear, would love to chat, and would love to interact with you. Thank you so much. Until next time, it is a goodbye from us.